Hello, everyone, and welcome to Good Morning Monday. This is Coach Pam, and I am here this week to share with you from overwhelmed to taking back control of our lives, right? So, I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to do this recording. So, let's get started. So one of the things I want to start with is a quote. I always like starting with a quote. Anxiety happens when you think you have to figure out everything all at once. Breathe. You're strong. You got this. Take it day by day. And when I saw this quote, I thought this is perfect because when we are overwhelmed, we do get a sense of feeling like everything has to be done at one time. And we have to realize that it doesn't, right? We have to breathe and take things one day at a time, take them as they come, right? So let's continue to see when we talk about overwhelmed. What are you feeling? What are some of the emotions that's going through your mind? We're either feeling like we're out of control, we are feeling defeated, we're feeling doubtful or helplessness, or just overpowered. Like everything is just going on at one time and it's just causing us to get overwhelmed. And how many of us know that when we're overwhelmed and when there's just so many things going on, sometimes we just stop and we don't do nothing, right? And that just makes it worse. And so let's think about, how do I take back control of my life? All right. That's the question. That's the $1,000,000 question today. How do I take back control? Right. So I want you to get out a piece of paper and we're going to walk through at least 3 of the steps today. This is a 2-part communication. So I'm going to start with 3 this week, and then I'll wrap up everything on next week's communication. So the question is, how do I take back control? All right. First, we have to begin to identify what's in our control. And in order to do that, we're going to have to list out everything that has us overwhelmed, right? So on your piece of paper, I want you to at least identify one thing today that have you overwhelmed. And I want you to write that one thing out. So I'm going to pause and I'm going to give you a moment to write down one thing that you need to take control of. Okay, you have that one thing. You've identified that one thing. All right, so let's see, what do we need to do next? Next, we need to focus on a solution. So this lady here is in deep thought. She's focusing on a solution to what's causing her to be overwhelmed. So the item or whatever you just wrote down that has you feeling overwhelmed, what's the solution for it? How can you resolve it? Right? So I'm going to give you a moment to write down, how can you resolve that situation? Okay. So you have your solution. You have what can you do to resolve that situation? Okay, let's see what's next. Next, we need to create a strategy. So take what you have identified, right? So we're only working with one thing right now. So what is the one thing that you identified that's causing you to be overwhelmed? What's the solution for it? Now create a strategy. What's your plan? How are you going to get that situation resolved, right? So some things to think about when you're thinking of a strategy is, who's going to help me? Because is it something that you need help with? Who can help me? What's the time frame? When does that project or that situation or that challenge that you have, when does it need to get done? When are you going to start it? Right? Give yourself a start time. When are you going to start it? Are you going to start it today? Can you start it tomorrow? When can you start it? And how will you know of the success? How will you measure success with that situation? right? So those are things to think about when you are creating a strategy, all right? So we got 3 things that we can do today to help us take back control of our lives. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, the first thing you want to do is you want to identify what's in your control, right? So to do that, you got to create a list. So your challenge this week, as you are gaining back control of your life, I want you to get a notebook or a piece of paper. If you are an online person, you can do a Word document or you can utilize OneNote if you are familiar with that. But I want you to identify all the things that you have to do, right? Identify everything that's on your mind, everything that you have to do, right? But then we got to weed out the things that are not in our control. Because believe it or not, we spend a lot of time worrying about things that are out of our control. There's nothing we can do about them, but we worry about them. And so when we are trying to take back control of our own lives, we have to weed out the things that are out of our control. There's nothing we can do about them. So as you are creating that list of all the things that you have to do, let's just say over the next week, right? Cross out those things that are out of your control, that there's nothing you can do about them, okay? And then what you have left, those are the things that need your attention, right? Because we're trying to get back control of our life. So that means that we need to reprioritize things, right? It just means that things have just gotten a little out of control and we need to gain that control back. So those things that are left on your list that are in your control, you've identified what those are. Now you're going to go through each of those items and you're going to give them a solution. What can you do to resolve that particular issue, challenge, whatever it is? Is it you need to make a phone call? Is it that you need to organize your closets? Maybe you are working on a business and you need to, create a website or whatever it is. Give each of those items that you identified as causing you to be overwhelmed, give them a solution. How are you going to solve for them, right? Then, after you've created the solutions for each of them, now you want to create a strategy. What's your plan, right? When are you going to get those things done? When are you going to start? What's the time frame that it needs to be completed, right? And what's your measure of success? How are you going to know that you've been successful, with that particular item, right? That has caused you to be overwhelmed. All right. So that's your challenge this week. Identify what's in your control, give it a solution, and create your strategy plan. Okay. So with that, you can follow me. I'm on Facebook. I have my handle is PD Reeves Coaching. I'm on LinkedIn as well, and I am on Instagram. If you would like to send me an email, it's pamdreeves@gmail.com. There's my website there, and I also am offering a free 30-minute coaching session. So let's say you get started with your list this week, and you need just some thoughts or some additional structure on how to work things out. We can have a 30-minute coaching session that I am offering as well. Okay. And then I want to leave you with this week's prayer. It comes from Psalm 62:1. I wait quietly before God, for my victory comes from him. Right? So sometimes when life takes us into spaces where we're just overwhelmed and we're just not really sure what to do, we can always get quiet before God and know that our victory, our strength, everything that we need to be successful and succeed comes from him. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. And I look forward to reading some of your responses. And, feel free to connect with me. I would love to follow up. Love you guys. Take care and have an awesome and wonderful week. Bye-bye.